So today's Packers training camp practice just ended. And one of the biggest concerns for me coming into this season for the Packers, when you looked at the entire roster, was the kicker position. And we know the Packers also had concerns last year. That's why they brought in Greg Joseph, a veteran kicker, who they thought could bring in some competition. And if Anders continued to struggle, maybe Greg Joseph could be the guy to come in and take over at that kicker spot. But if we look at these statistics from all three kickers on this roster, neither has really pushed ahead of the other, and none of them have been good. And so here's an update from today's practice. They each had 5 kicks, and Andy Herman has kept track of their entire field goal percentage throughout all of training camp. So let me share with you this tweet from the past couple hours from camp. So he says, today, Greg Joseph goes 2 of 5, which is not good. 20% when it comes to field goals, really, really bad. Not a great day. We saw him miss that 47-yard field goal in the preseason game on Sunday night, wide right. Also not good. Then Alex Hale, the third kicker who was brought in somewhat recently in the past couple weeks, goes 3 of 5. And then Anders Carlson goes 4 of 5. So today, Anders Carlson had the best day, 4 of 5, only missing 1. Not too bad. And so here are the camp totals so far. This is from Andy Herman, as I said. Anders Carlson, 54 of 67, 80.6%. Greg Joseph, 54 of 69, 78.3%. Alex Hale, 14 of 21, 66.7%. So if you take any of those percentages and were to say that's what the Packers kicker this year will have, that's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. Anders Carlson field goal percentage is pretty close to what it was last year, if not really identical. It was around 80 to 81%. It's at 80.6% so far in camp. And it seems to me that, when you look at Anders Carlson and you look at his history, if I'm going to pull up right now his college kicker stats to look at that field goal percentage, because I know that when he was drafted, there were some concerns when you looked at his college tape or his college statistics, and Brian Gutekunst and the Packers organization seemed to be pretty confident that they could get him to improve in that area. He dealt with some injuries in college, but maybe he is just not a great kicker. That could just be the case. Maybe he takes steps forward. Sometimes kickers can grow in years 2 and 3. You never want to rule it out. But at the same time, maybe we also need to look at the facts right now, the statistics. So during his time in college at Auburn, in 5 seasons, he had a 71.8% field goal percentage. So I guess in the NFL, he has improved. He was at 71.8%, and last year he was around 80%. So far in camp, he's around 80%. But that still puts you in the about 25 to 30-ish range when you compare it to other kickers in the NFL from 2023. So 80% is not good. And also Greg Joseph, 78.3%. So now worse than Anders Carlson. Earlier in camp, it looks like Greg Joseph was ahead of Anders Carlson. Now Anders Carlson is slightly ahead of Greg Joseph, with Greg Joseph having a bad past few days. And Alex Hale, since he's come in, just has not been great. 14 of 21, which is the worst of those 3 kickers. And so I guess the question is for Brian Gutekunst, Packers GM, and this organization, what are they going to do? Because if right now you had to pick one of these 3 kickers, I would guess you'd go with Anders because he is your draft pick. He has been the best so far, just by a little bit. But still, I don't know about you guys, but with what we've seen in camp, what we saw from Anders Carlson last season, I just would not be that confident to roll him out as a Packers kicker in 2024. The Packers are going to be in a lot of really good games against good teams, and you need a guy that you can rely on. Of course, kickers, they're not going to be perfect unless you're Justin Tucker. You're pretty close to perfect, but you want someone who can be better than 80% at field goal percentages, at least a little bit higher than that, to put you at least, middle tier average around the NFL. And so I guess my question is, are there any other kickers out there right now that could offer anything else? To be honest, I'm not sure. I need to take a look at it. I would assume at this point there's not many guys that the Packers would want to bring in. You'd think they would have already brought some guys in, but maybe they'll take a look and see if there's anyone else out there. And maybe when 53-man rosters are finalized in the coming, I think it's August 27th. I think I saw that earlier today. So about a week from now, maybe another team will cut a kicker that the Packers will see as a potential solid addition here in Green Bay. Out of all 31 other NFL teams, you would assume that, when a team cuts a kicker, that there's maybe someone else out there who could come in. So that could be a possibility, but there's no doubt this is not a good situation if you are the Green Bay Packers right now. And we'll see how this sort of ends as training camp ends and as we get into the regular season. Now let me go over the rest of the updates from today's training camp practice. It honestly seemed to be a somewhat shorter day because there weren't as many updates as there had been earlier in Packers training camp. But first off, important to note that Edgerrin Cooper, Packers' second-round linebacker, who's been dealing with a hip injury, has been out for a couple weeks, almost 3 weeks now. He was back at practice today doing individual drills. So that is a great sign. It looks like he is at least starting to come back and get some reps in. It definitely hurts if you're a rookie and you miss most of training camp because those are very important reps to prepare you for the season. And Edgerrin Cooper, had to miss a few weeks, and there's no doubt it's going to take him probably longer to progress and get to where he needs to go or needs to be to potentially be a Packers starter, but at least he may have a couple weeks here being able to participate. So that's a good sign. And then Henry Pearson was re-signed, Packers fullback, brought back, and then running back Jarvian Howard was released. Now to new Packers injuries from Matt Schneidman, who says this A.J. Dillon stinger. And that made me ask the question. I don't know if you guys saw on Sunday night in that preseason game. 31 players did not suit up. A.J. Dillon was one of those. At that point, I had not heard that he had an injury. I don't know if it was out there yet until earlier today. But I had assumed that the Packers sat A.J. just because they thought he was a starter. And that could sort of give you the idea that the Packers saw him as a lock for the roster, and there wasn't really competition between him and Emmanuel Wilson. Now, the fact that now there is an injury that has come up here, maybe that's why he wasn't playing. I don't know that for a fact, but that could be a possibility as to why he wasn't suiting up. So we'll keep an eye on that running back battle. Then Andre Dillard, shoulder injury. Tyler Davis, shoulder injury. Preston Smith, illness. Spencer Wegg, concussion. And those are the new injuries. Now here we have the starters in the team period from Andy Herman. Jordan Love at quarterback. Shocker there. Josh Jacobs at running back. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks at receiver. Kraft at tight end. Rasheed Walker left tackle. Elton Jenkins left guard. Josh Meyer center. Sean Ryan right guard. Zach Tom right tackle. So Romeo Doubs not among the starters, but it seemed like he came in pretty quickly. And as we know, the Packers have 4 really, really good receivers they can mix in and out. And then at right guard, Jordan Morgan still dealing with an injury, so that is why Sean Ryan is there. Once Jordan Morgan is healthy, I would assume he will come back to starting, and that would probably be the Packers' starting O-line this year to start off. Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Jordan Morgan, Zach Tom. Now the defensive starters. Rashawn Gary, TJ Slayton, Kenny Clark, and Enigbare. So, of course, Preston Smith has an illness. Not sure what it is. So, Enigbare took over there. Not Van Ness. So, Enigbare getting the start over Van Ness. Then at linebacker, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie. And then, so this is nickel defense. And then in cornerbacks, Eric Stokes, Keyshawn Nixon, and Jair Alexander. That seems to be the setup here for the Packers starting corners. Then safety, Xavier McKinney and Javon Bullard. So for the past week, maybe week and a half or so, Javon Bullard seems to have been starting a lot next to Xavier McKinney. Earlier in camp, there was a lot of substitution where some days it would be Bullard next to McKinney. Some days it would be other rookie safety Evan Williams. Other days it would be last year's 7th-round player Anthony Johnson Jr. But Bullard seems to have solidified himself as the safety next to McKinney just based off of him starting here a lot the past week or two. And then now to Andy Herman. Offense starts with 2 really nice runs by Josh Jacobs and a complete deep crosser to Romeo Doubs from Love. Love had all day. Beautiful throw from 10 to 87. Great start for the offense. Now, Rob Demovsky, he says 2 deep throws so far, 2 completions from Love to Romeo Doubs. The connection is real and has the potential to be spectacular. So that is some high praise for the Jordan Love, Romeo Doubs connection there. And as I said a couple weeks ago, in my mind, I still feel like Romeo Doubs is Jordan Love's most trusted receiver. Like when it comes to a third down, big moments, I think that Doubs has shown time and time again that in crucial moments he can come up with big plays. You look at the playoffs, Romeo Doubs was the most productive receiver. And so just looking at that, it makes me, when looking at these different wide receivers, who could be the best one here, I just think that Romeo Doubs has such a great ability to, when it comes to his route running, and I think Jordan Love just really, really trusts him. He's great when it comes to contested catches. And so there's no doubt all these receivers have a lot of talent, a lot of skill, but right now I'm leaning towards Romeo really being the most trusted receiver from Love. Now, maybe that doesn't mean he leads the team in receiving yards, but I think there's a higher chance he leads in receptions. Some of these maybe Dontavian Wicks is more explosive and more talented. Potentially, we'll see this year. But it's, as we all know, as we talked about time and time again, it's a good problem to have too many talented receivers. Now, Wes Hodkwitz, Jacob Monk rotates in at right guard. So rookie there goes in after Sean Ryan, I believe. Then Andy Herman, Love completed to Reed for a nice pickup, followed by another really nice Jacobs run, and a crosser to Kraft for a big gain, and the offense is on fire. So much better today. If you guys saw that joint practice recap video I did on Friday in Denver, the starters were playing against the Broncos, and the Broncos seemed to dominate most of the day, which is not something you want to see because at least before the season, I don't think many people around the league, or not around the league necessarily, but fan bases, people like that, don't seem to value the Broncos at a super high level. Maybe they come in and have a really good year, but it wasn't a great sign. But today the Packers seem to be getting back on track. Then here we have from Ryan Wood, Jordan Love finished period hitting Tucker Kraft for 17 yards on drag. In period, Love completed all 4 passes for 77 yards. Nice early bounce back from Friday in Denver. Then Andy Herman, Love to Doubs behind him, but Doubs got his hands on it but couldn't haul it in. Should have been an easy completion. First mistake from the offense. Love to Watson complete over the middle. Another one that in the game, Watson would have taken a hit, but this time Quay kept him safe. So Jordan Love spreading the ball around there. Ryan Wood, Tucker Kraft just took a check down from Jordan Love, and I'm not sure how far it would have, I think he means gone there in a game, but let's just say the Packers' young tight end has a gear that is unreal in the open field. There's a reason he calls himself the Yak Guy. And if Kraft and Luke Musgrave can both be healthy for most of the season, I'm curious to see how they, when it comes to production, how it's going to be split up between, because both are super talented. I do think Tucker Kraft is better after the catch. He's just a much sturdier guy. Luke Musgrave seems to, when he's contacted, falls down pretty easily, a little slimmer in the legs. Tucker Kraft a little bit, sturdier, and so he seems to bounce off. Guys seem to bounce off him a lot more. And then Andy Herman, I already touched on the field goal stuff, started the video with that. And then here to end it from Matt Schneidman, who says this: offense has 3 chances for 2-point conversion. 1, Clark pressure, incomplete for Watson, back middle with Nixon in coverage. 2, Jair pass breakup versus Doubs at front left pylon. 3, Quay tips it up at goal line and Elton catches it. Offense takes about 10 minutes to push him in, and Zach Tom delivers a stone-cold stunner to celebrate. So Elton Jenkins finishes the day off, it seems, with a touchdown. So that is all the updates for today. On Thursday, it will be Packers-Ravens joint practice. So if you want to see updates from that, make sure you have your post notifications turned on. And that way, not just for Thursday's practice, but also for any other Packers news, I typically try to put a video out as soon as I possibly can when Packers news happens. So if you want to make sure you're always up to date with Packers news, make sure you turn on those post notifications so you get notified anytime I make a video. But thank you guys for watching. You can also follow me on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it, at LukeBeller3, and I'll see you guys next time.